Hello all, welcome to manual testing course. Manual testing course of session 3, we'll see the difference between verification and validation. So we have seen the basic concept of verification and validation in session 2 by taking the example of cake, and we understood the terms verification and validation. But in today's session, we'll see a more detailed difference between verification and validation, because this question is the most important questions that mostly the interviewer asks in the interview. Okay, so let's get started. So to give the difference, we can consider these all aspects. We start with the definition and objective nature, activities involved. I will give example and then we'll finally summarize. Okay, so in case if we have to define verification, we can define as verification is the process of evaluating work products to ensure they meet a specified requirement. Similarly, validation is the process of evaluating the final product to ensure it meets the business or end user need and requirement. And the objective of the verification is to ensure product is built correctly according to the specifications. And then the validation objective is to ensure the right product is built to fulfill intended use and need of the end user. Similarly, we can say verification is a static in nature and static practice, and it involves reviews, inspect, walkthrough, etc. And the purpose is to find the error in the development process. But validation is dynamic practice. It involves testing the actual products, and the purpose is to validate the developed product to meet the user need. And similarly, the activities involves are review, inspects or inspection, walkthrough, test checking. You can take example of the cake and you can say the recipe reviews, ingredient measurement, and the preparation process check. Those all activities involves in the verification. But in validation, we have the functional testing, system testing, user acceptance testing. These all things we will see in the further session. But for time being, you can take example of cake and you can say baking the cake, taste the taste of the cake, and the guest feedback. So once the cake is cooked or prepared, you will test it and you'll see if the cake has been cooked properly, and you'll give the guest to taste the cake and check the cake shape and size and the design. So those activities comes under the validation. Similarly, you can give the example of verification as reviewing design specification before development, and you can again take the example of cake and say checking that you added the correct amount of flavor, sugar, eggs, and that you bake the cake for the right amount of time. Similarly, validation, you can give example as testing the final product to ensure it meets the user requirement. So take the example of cake and say testing the cake and confirm that the cake is cooked, designed properly and perfectly. And overall summary, you can say verification ensure you are following the steps correctly, and validation ensure the final product is what you want or the user want. So in this way you can explain the difference between verification and validation to the interviewer. But in case of if he asks to explain in terms of software testing, then you can take example of the software and you can explain. But in case of basic verification and validation, if he asks, you can explain in this way. In further session, we'll see more detail about what is software and what is software testing and what validation verification we do for a software. Okay, so for today we are done with the verification and validation. See you in the next session.